Jay Quellen. No Jay Quellen here? Balake. Where is Balake at? Ron.
Ron here again. Thank you for joining me one more time, and welcome back to the channel. Guys, a lot of people wonder how Scientology has so much money considering they have so few members. There are in fact only about 30,000 Scientologists in the entire world. The number is probably a little under that actually. I have a video on my channel, I think it's called Proof of 35,000 Scientologists or Proof of 30,000 Scientologists. I'll put a thumbnail of that video here. I've been meaning to redo the video now that I actually use real editing software and graphics and everything. It'll make the video easier to follow. But the fact is, there are not more than 30,000 Scientologists in the world. And yet Scientology has billions and billions of dollars. How do they do this? I'm going to show you a post that was put up today on the Underground Bunker blog that partially answers this question. The blog post today highlighted a number of Scientologists who participated in a recent fundraiser. And there's several people mentioned in this blog, but the real star of this blog post is a local Clearwater Scientologist named Tom Cummins. This guy has the same form of gigantism that Tony Robbins has. The head on this guy is just enormous. Nothing I could show you in these photos could possibly do it justice. But let me show you a particular image here on the blog where it says, Tom and Victoria Cummins surpass 500x humanitarian. Guys, this term humanitarian is a status awarded to a Scientologist when they have donated $100,000 specifically to Scientology's real estate programs. Now, math may not be my strong point. After all, I did grow up in a cult, but I consulted a calculator, and I have it on good authority that 100,000 times 500 is $50 million. People wonder how Scientology has so much money. It's because of guys like this. And please keep in mind, this $50 million figure, that's just what Tom has donated to Scientology's real estate strategy. That's not even the main fundraising strategy that Scientology has. There's actually three main ways that Scientology collects money from its members. The first way, and it used to be the primary way, is just selling Scientology services. We're talking auditing, we're talking training. Auditing is Scientology's form of one-on-one counseling. Training is just studying a course in a course room. It's pretty simple stuff. Back in the day, L. Ron Hubbard actually said that Scientology organizations were prohibited from making money by doing anything else other than selling, auditing, and selling training. After David Miscavige took the helm of Scientology, he had some other ideas. And if you ask me, David Miscavige introducing other ways to get money out of Scientologists was most likely a direct result of the fact that the number of Scientology members has been pretty steadily dwindling since the early 90s. This is a fact. At the height, there was only 100,000 active Scientologists. And presently, as I said, there's only about 30,000. This decline has been very steady since the early 90s. So the first thing Miscavige introduced was something called the IAS, the International Association of Scientologists. This is the membership organization of Scientology. Before the real estate strategy came along, the IAS was how Scientology extracted massive sums of money from its members without having to be indebted to them by being on the hook for delivering, auditing, or training. Scientology calls the IAS its war chest. Scientologists' understanding of what the IAS exists for is to protect Scientology from legal threats and to fund widespread worldwide dissemination or promotional efforts. Like if you see a super expensive commercial being aired on the Super Bowl, Scientologists believe that the money they've given to the IAS is specifically what is funding that type of promotion. Now, sometime around the early aughts, 2003, 2004, David Miscavige decided that every Scientology organization in the world, of which there's about 150, needed a massive new facility. We're talking about buildings not less than 50,000 square feet, and that every organization in the world had its own responsibility to come up with the funds to purchase and renovate such a property. The IAS money was not going to be used. None of the vast amount of money that Scientology had in the bank and its reserves was going to be used. This real estate strategy, which they call the ideal org strategy, was going to become the new massive fundraising machine for Scientology and for Miscavige. Now, I can tell you, if Tom Cummins has donated $50 million just to the real estate strategy. There is a very good chance he has easily donated another $50 million to the IAS. Now, even though Miscavige and Scientology have succeeded in raising hundreds of millions of dollars for the real estate strategy is completely bogged down. Scientology would say it's bugged. Even some major US cities, like let's take Philadelphia, for example, which is where I spent most of my time in Scientology. Philadelphia originally purchased its new Ideal Org building close to 15 years ago. Now, they weren't able to raise enough money to buy this building outright like they were supposed to. So what they did is they got a bunch of Scientologists to sign on to a loan, and then they turned the money that they borrowed over to Scientology so that Scientology could buy this building. Unfortunately, the Scientologists in Philadelphia had been so completely tapped out, and not only that, they were now in debt. They weren't able to raise enough money to renovate the building. So basically, 15 years ago, Scientology purchased a skyscraper. It's not a huge skyscraper, but it is a skyscraper on either Chestnut or Walnut, I can never remember, right in downtown Philadelphia. And it has literally sat there empty for 15 years. Now, Philadelphia is the 6th most populous city in the entire United States. So you sort of get a picture here for how bugged this real estate program has become. If there aren't enough Scientologists with enough money in the 6th most populous state in the US to simply renovate the building that was already purchased, then what are the chances that they're gonna have enough resources to execute this strategy in other smaller, less populous cities that have even less Scientologists with even less money? And it is precisely that reason that Scientologists like Tom Cummins have ended up donating so much money specifically to the real estate strategy. So let's see what other Scientologists were highlighted in this promotional piece. Ken and Aridana Walker. God, I actually know Ari. This is Ari Brenner. She used to be a Sea Org member, and then she left, and now she's married to Ken. I have no idea how Ken has so much money, but these guys have been donating to orgs all over the United States. So Ken and Ari Walker, Steve and Peggy Fabos. The Boston org in particular gets a shout out, but no one in particular gets mentioned. Long Island gets mentioned. As you can see, there was at least one person at the Long Island fundraiser. That's kind of what I'm talking about when I say struggling. St. Louis has an amazing photograph of, again, one person at the fundraiser. Puerto Rico gets mentioned. For some reason, we're looking at a small little private plane and the face of a woman. Nobody gets mentioned. No mention of how much money was raised. No evidence that a fundraiser even occurred, actually. That photograph doesn't look like it was taken at a fundraiser, if you ask me. More people come on to announce their donations. Oh, I get it. This entire thing was a virtual fundraiser. And here we are seeing which 9 cities managed to round up the most donations for the USA Ideal Org Alliance. I see. So now they have thrown away even the pretense of East US orgs helping other East US orgs, or West US orgs helping West US orgs. East US and West US are considered 2 different continents in the world of Scientology management. Now they've just combined the entire thing, and all donations are going into a slush fund for all orgs in the United States. Guys, I've mentioned before how the evidence that any Scientologist would need to determine that there aren't tens of millions of Scientologists like David Miscavige and Scientology Management claims. They claim there's tens of millions of Scientologists. The evidence that this is completely false is right in front of the face of every Scientologist in every Scientology organization. And even what we're talking about here is a perfect example of that. The fact that there are orgs in the United States that don't have enough Scientologists around them to come up with a few $1 million to buy and renovate a building is an example of evidence that there's nowhere near even 100,000 Scientologists. And there's something about the mindset of cult members. There's something that prevents them from seeing what is right in front of their eyes and connecting dots that should be very easy to connect. And this isn't me just throwing shade. I mean, I was 100% in this same bucket when I was in Scientology. The whole 30 years I was in Scientology, it never even occurred to me that anything I was told from management was incorrect or false or misleading or exaggerated. I never even suspected. there weren't millions of Scientologists in the world. And yet once I was out of Scientology, it really just took about 10 minutes of simple math to get down to the heart of it. And it's really hard to explain how that can happen, how that can be true, how people can be controlled like that. I don't know if you call it brainwashing or conditioning or programming or whatever, but whatever it is, it's truly incredible. So there you have it, guys. This is at least a partial answer to the question, how in God's name does Scientology collect so much money? When you have people like Tom Cummins donating $50 million, Lord only knows how much John Travolta has given. Lord only knows how much Tom Cruise has really given. Billionaires such as Bob Duggan. Actually, Bob's the only billionaire Scientologist that I'm aware of, except for another guy. There's another guy, he's like a Saudi arms dealer. He may not still be in Scientology, but he was, or maybe he was an Iraqi arms dealer. Either way, that's an interesting story that I should dive into sometime in a later video. But that's all I have on this for now, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you to all of you who watched until the very end, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here. Bye!